Saints defensive end Cam Jordan on his future, and New Orleans deserving more. Ladies and gentlemen, this is post the Raiders game Sunday, and you got to wonder, is it getting to the end of Cam Jordan's career? Could that possibly have been his last home game as a New Orleans Saint? I know there were beat reporters that said Cam stayed on the field with his family for a couple of hours. Doesn't mean it is. But I mean, Cam is smart enough to know it could be, whether conversations he has with his family or reflecting or whatever, he may decide this is it. He may decide to come back. Who knows? But, he's definitely smart enough to know that there's a possibility this is the last time he will be in the Superdome on the field as a member of the New Orleans Saints. So, Cam actually has been pretty good last couple of games. I think he's had 3 sacks in 3 games, somewhere in there. So he's been kind of showing some pop there at the end. I mean, obviously his best days are behind him. Obviously, I don't think he's, a starting level defensive end anymore. Not for an entire season. Rotational player, locker room leader, all that stuff, no doubt about it. And Cam Jordan's one of my favorite Saints ever. I've really enjoyed watching him. So if it is the end of his career, as a Saint, I mean, tip of the cap. He should absolutely be in conversations for Hall of Fame, absolutely be in conversations for the Saints Ring of Honor. He's a hell of a member of the community. I see him at Pelicans games all the time. So Cam has been fantastic for the city and a fantastic New Orleans Saint. So let's go ahead and listen to him after the game.
I can't tuck into the home schedule, your 14th home schedule. Just what do you take from this game?
It wasn't good enough. I mean, 10 to 25 regardless of who we played, a lot of juice, a lot of energy in the first half. Came in, it takes our time, and whatever we did, we didn't finish strong. So it's clearly on us.
I don't know how to say this, but it looked like you took some extra time after the game, just kind of.
Yeah, I did. You never know what's going to happen. As much as I feel like, my play says I can play 3-4 more years, 2, 3, whatever it is, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. So I'm going to take care of the people that have always taken care of me.
And were you kind of thinking about all that stuff, like you did the Who Dat chant, all that kind of stuff in your mind then?
No, I called the Who Dat chant for the end of the year, at the beginning of the year. I always want to close that thing out. I thought we would be headed to the playoffs. I was clearly wrong. I thought I was going to be rushing from the edge. I was clearly wrong. So,
pretty tough for Cam. He's talking about how he kind of hesitated, but he said, you can't lose 10 to 25 to the Raiders. And he's right. It's not Barry Sanders and LaDainian Tomlinson and Saquon Barkley and players like that running all over the Saints. It's Sean Tucker and Amir Abdullah and whoever else. I mean, it's just anyone and everyone all year long. Doesn't matter if it's Drew Lock or Aiden O'Connell or Jordan Love. Whoever is, once it can get it from the New Orleans Saints defense, is basically how it's been. They have been putrid. I mean, cannot stop anyone, anybody. Whether it's the Browns, whether it's the Bucks, whether it's the Raiders, it doesn't matter. The defense has been, a lot of the season has been me kind of saying the injuries and young players and this and that and free agents and unsigned practice squad. All that is true except for the defense. The defense is, they've been banged up at times, but the defense is right now Carl Granderson, Brian Brzee, Cam Jordan's out there. Demario Davis is out there. Pete Werner's out there. Tyrann Mathieu out there. Yeah, we traded Marshawn Lattimore. Kool-Aid's out there. Alontae Taylor's out there. Yes, Paulson and Debo got hurt, but for the most part, the defense is relatively intact, and they've just been bad. Bad is honestly doing them kind of grading on a curve. They've been worse than bad. They've been the worst in the NFL. They are, I haven't checked DVOA today, but I would assume they're probably going to be 32nd against the run, and this version of them against the pass is probably 25 to 30. They're you could make a real case. I don't even know if it's a case. There's credence to the Saints having the worst defense in the NFL, and that's crazy from where we were before the season. This is the one part of it where everybody can hold their hands up and say, yes, we were wrong here. because the Saints were a team where it seemed like no matter what, these players would be a top 10 defense, top 15 defense. You throw in Chase Young, you throw in, Kool-Aid. Okay, maybe this team can be a top 10 defense, a top 5 defense. And that was just completely wrong. Father Time hit every player on that team at the same time. Demario Davis is, last year he was a top 5 linebacker in the NFL. Right now, I don't know if he's a top 50 linebacker in the NFL. We saw it happen to Devin White last year with Tampa Bay, where he went from being probably the best linebacker in the NFL to cannot play, cannot start, and released from the team all within a year. So, it happens. Tyrann went from being a top 5 safety, I think he was 6 on PFF last year, to below average. Marshawn hurt and then traded. Adebo, questionable when he's on the field, then injured. Kool-Aid, obviously second-round pick. A lot of people thought, okay, maybe he could be lockdown corner. He's been anything but. Alante's had to move around. He struggled on the outside. Brian Brzee has taken a step forward. Pass rush has taken 100 steps backwards, stopping the run. Chase Young, he shows sparks, but not really. Carl Granderson, kind of whatever. So it's just been bad all around defensively.
All I can do is be an ultimate soldier, ultimate warrior, and rally my guys, talk to my guys, try and lead my guys however best I can. This entire year, whatever role is given to me, I try to fully embrace it, because I want black and gold to be successful at whatever it takes. And here we are, 5-11. It doesn't feel like we clearly had a lot of things to overcome. We wish we would have had a high-powered offense this entire year. Wish there's a lot I wish, but coulda, wouldas, never shouldas. Coulda, wouldas, never shouldas. It's just where we've been. Should have had our entire offensive line starting the whole year. Should have had DC hopefully the whole year. Should have had our starting top 4 receivers the whole year. Should have had our starting DBs. There's a lot of excuses that we can make. At the end of the day, we weren't good enough this year, and that hurts as a player. That hurts as a fan of the game. That hurts as somebody who's in love with the black and gold. And honestly, the city of New Orleans, especially with the Super Bowl being here, just felt like it deserved more.
And obviously, team games. What do you feel like you showed, individually these last 5, 6, 7 games?
You turn on the tape, you tell me. It's not like we've heard anything different. So all I can do is put my best foot forward. When you got guys like Carl Granderson who coming off the edge, who's giving out work. You got guys like Colin Sanders, who's on the interior, who doesn't get enough love for the plays that he makes. You got Brian Brzee, who's a monster in the middle, who should have had his 8.5 sack today. I think he got taken back by a penalty or something like that. Should be 8.5 sacks deep at his freaking nose and 3 technique that he plays. That's impressive. For me, I've always been consistent in how I approach work and how much I love this game, and until my love runs out for the game, I'm gonna keep on going.
Amir Abdullah had over 100 yards rushing.
Yeah, 45 of those came on third downs, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 10. That's
Yeah, it's hard for a defense whenever it's 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, and teams are willing to run on you. Like the Raiders did it this game, where 3rd and 7. They'll run it, and they'll pick it up. There was a couple of those where Abdullah got 8 yards, 9 yards on a 3rd and 7, and it's when that's happening, the game is relatively over. Like when you are giving up 120 yards to Amir Abdullah, and you cannot stop the other team on 1st down, 2nd down, much less 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, and you turn the Raiders into a 10 for 18 3rd down offense. Like there's nothing you can do. And what was the first drive? 17 plays. You let the Raiders come out. Really think about it. Like the Saints give up 34-0 on Monday Night Football. So they're coming in here obviously wanting to get that, off, just wipe that away. And the first thing they do is give up a 17-play drive to the Raiders. This isn't the 2009 Patriots. A 17-play drive. I believe it was 17. Now that I'm saying it, I'm like, no way, it was 17. That seems crazy. But someone double check me. But to open the game like that, it's just like, man, what in the world? And then, then it just continued. It just continued all game long, and all of a sudden, then, and that's how you see the discrepancies of a 16-minute time of possession, where the Raiders have the ball for 36 minutes. The Packers have the ball for 40 minutes. The blank team has the ball for 20 minutes more than the Saints. That's how that happens. The Saints are allowing the other teams to play 2 games, 2-1. Like, the offense is on the field twice as much as our offense. So it's very difficult to get into a rhythm. It's very difficult to get a tempo, to win a game, to go possession for possession. It's difficult in that situation. So, it's not a recipe for success, and I don't care how high-powered the offense is. I don't know. There's not a lot of high-powered offenses that could kind of exist with what this defense has done. I mean, you look at Cincinnati. That's kind of what Cincinnati's problem has been this year, is that the defense has just been horrible. The defense has been terrible. It's given up big play after big play. We almost saw it happen against Denver, where 4th down, game could be over. LOL, Bo Nix hucks it up. They come down with it. And look at what it takes from Cincinnati. Joe Burrow's having his best season, could be the MVP. T. Higgins, 150 yards and 3 touchdowns and 11 catches, and Jamar Chase and Chase Brown. Like, they have absolute studs. And look at what their offense has to do to try and balance out that horrific defense. And they are all but eliminated from the playoffs. So you take away Joe Burrow, replace him with Spencer Rattler. You take away T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, and you replace them with, Dante Pettis and Kevin Austin. And this is what happens. So you don't need the 2000 Ravens defense, but you cannot be a defense like the Bengals or the Saints that just offers no resistance at all.
That's something that we probably should have adjusted for. One in the red zone for 15. There was another one coming out of the red zone, hit for 14 or 15. Again, 3 runs, ran for 45 to 50 yards. It's not going to bode well for your yards per run per carry. YPC. Jeez.
What made it so hard to contain their rushing attack today?
I don't know. If we take how many yards did they finish with?
30, 56, something like that.
I'll say if you take out 3 or 4 of those 3rd down runs, it's probably under 100. So that's on us for a lot of it. And I think we've talked about this entire year. We can't miss these tackles. There's been times where we've had guys lined up and tackled, and somehow they squeak these extra 3, 4, 5 yards that come back and bite us in the ass at the end of the game.
Tyron mentioned that even in practicing this week, y'all knew what was coming as far as the meshes and the crosses, but then sometimes maybe even the call didn't fit stopping that.
Again, we can run all the excuses you want. At the end of the day, we lost to a team that we should have beat. And that's how I felt but that's how I've always felt for the last 14 years. Anytime we lose, I'm like, it's on us more than it is on them.
Yeah, I mean, and we've done a lot of these with Cam, and most of the time Cam is very much like, we should be winning. We are good enough. We should be winning. And part of that's true, sure. And after the Eagles game and the Falcons game, it's okay, hard battle, tough battle, definitely ended at the end. A couple mistakes here and there, probably should have won, but again, when the Raiders are 10 for 18 on 3rd down, Amir Abdullah has 120 yards, or Sean Tucker has 140 yards, or Green Bay's fifth running back has 80 yards. When that's happening, it's just the team isn't good enough. The players aren't good enough. That's kind of where they're at right now. And the Saints are in a tough situation with Cam because you can't restructure his deal. If you're going to restructure deals, you have to restructure deals for younger players. You can't restructure deals on players that aren't going to play, or rotational, or older, or whatever. So the Saints are in a tricky situation with Cam, and I'm sure he wants to play, no doubt about it. And he, in a better situation, he'd be on the roster. Every team needs someone like Cam Jordan, but for what the Saints are doing, for where they are at right now, and for the results that are on the field, because you do have to, at some point, have to look at this and say, if you have to look at this defense and say, guys, we are getting embarrassed by some pretty bad players. Pretty bad players, some pretty bad teams are looking real good against us, and things have to change. So, it's tough right now with a player like Cam, with a player like Tyrann, like fan favorites, even like Marshawn, even a player like Marshawn, where it's like fan favorites, great players to have in the city, great players to have on the roster, but obviously some stuff has to change on the defense.
There might be a handful of times where I'm like, all right, we got beat this time. Maybe. Over 14 years, in my mind, it's always about us. And it's always going to be about us. So it's not what they did, it's how we didn't tackle, how we didn't get in the backfield, how we, whatever it is. I'm always going to put it on us before them because I think it's always been about us.
I mean, that part is true. Like, that part is absolutely true. And that's kind of what I'm saying is that, yeah, it's more that when you have bad players and bad teams, and the Raiders are a bad team, no doubt. Up until 2 weeks ago, they had the first overall pick. Or up until the last 2 weeks, they had the first overall pick. Antonio Pierce is about to get fired. Like, they're a bad team. Bad coach team, everything about them. But when you have players like bad players, bad teams, looking good, playing good, dominating, usually it is because of what you are doing or not doing. And in the Saints' case, it's what they're not doing. Not tackling, not getting pressure to the quarterback, not getting sacks, not getting turnovers. Like, that's what's happening. Yes, 100%. Sean Tucker is not good. No doubt. Amir Abdullah is not a running back that's going to get 120 yards. So it probably is more on what the Saints aren't doing. So, like I said, we'll see what happens with Cam. I hope the best. I mean, I would be really surprised if he's back next year, just factoring in everything. But, like I said, he deserves his place in Saints Ring of Honor and all of that. So let me know in the comments what you think. Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and I will see you in the next video.